People want to know, like, what's the outcome of the US election and what's happening in politics in 2024. And I think one important thing to remember is that astrology happens to everyone. It happens to the whole planet and beyond, honestly. But astrology is happening to everyone. And so this is a global phenomenon. And yes, there's a specific day and time for an election and specific coordinates for the US and specific days and times for birth charts for people running in the election. But what I'd like to speak to is the larger forces at work. And I could do a much longer talk on this, but I will say just briefly, just as a little thumbnail sketch of what's happening globally, universally, is that it sounds trite saying it, but it's actually so powerful. And that's why everything feels so big. Everything feels so big because of this. But there's this thing that people have been talking about. And I remember when I first heard the phrase, awakening and waking up, I was a little skeptical that it was just like woo woo, kind of just gibberish that people were talking. But then the more I progressed in my own pathway and the more I read and the more people I've talked to and here I am in 2024. I absolutely believe that there's this awakening going on, and I absolutely see it in the astrology. And it's everyone can see it. It doesn't take an astrologer to see it. You guys can see it. So the planet's waking up, the universe is waking up. And this includes women in particular. I would say if you look at the US and globally, honestly, um, everyone's waking up, but women in particular. And that which is feminine, like, women have both a feminine side of their personality and a masculine side of their personality. So women can be feminine and masculine and somewhere in between based on how they need to be or how they're feeling. It's this fluid thing that happens, has nothing to do with gender identity or sexual preference, nothing. It's just there is masculine and feminine in women and masculine and feminine in men. Men have their sort of more masculine qualities, the very outward kind of yang um, ways of being, but they also have a hidden sometimes side that's very feminine. And it has nothing to do with sexual preference or gender identity. It's just the way people are. They're a mixture of these things. And so the feminine is waking up globally. And this is unstoppable. This is not something that politics can stop. This is not something that a dictator can stop. It's something that people can fight, that people can resist it, but they can't stop it. And no matter how powerful a person is, no matter what a charismatic leader, cult leader somebody is, they can have their little tiny power for a while, and they can try for a while. Even armies can try for a while. And it's not, I'm not diminishing the impact of that at all. What I'm looking at is a bigger picture. And in the bigger picture, nobody can stop this. Nobody can stop the feminine awakening, that's happening. And it's a whole new era. Big an era being huge, possibly, definitely thousands of years, if not longer. The feminine has awakened, actually, has awakened. It's not even sometime in the future. We've been in this awakening process for a while, And it's why you see all this resistance, you see the pushback, and you see the kind of panic in the forces that would resist that it's like and this is just a natural thing. The resistance is a part of a natural process too. Do I always like what I see with resistance culturally? No, I don't. But it's there, it's a part of nature. There are things, I could pull out almost any example of nature, like a tree falling. There are certain forces that would prevent the tree falling too. And the tide coming in, a high tide are forces that keep the tide back. So it's the same thing here, but at the same time, nothing actually stops the high tide. The high tide happens. Nothing actually prevents the low tide. It happens anyway, even though there are forces working to push it higher. And so it's the same principle here. People can not like what they see when they see the feminine kind of awakening surge, and what that means and how that's manifesting. People cannot like it and they can try to resist it, but we're all powerless in the face of it. And um, as a woman, I actually think this is a good thing. I am happy about it. I think the masculine has ruled for so long. The masculine properties in everybody. We're not talking men, women here, but the masculine, there's been very masculine dominant way of being on the planet for a long time. And it's nice to be pulled back into balance. So we've been at maybe a high tide but these are longer tides, these are tides that last thousands of years. And so we've had this very long, 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 long high tide, and it's time for the tide to go back out and be more in balance. But it will swing. The interesting about balance is, get ready for this. And we don't know if we'll see it fully in our lifetimes, but we may, because we've already been in this process. This is not new. Again, this is not something that's happening right now only. It's begun already. And so who knows what we'll see? It'll be surprising, I think, and hopefully in good ways. But the thing about the tides is, there is a midpoint in the tide coming in and out, but that's not where we're headed. We're headed toward a full-on swing toward the feminine, and I don't know when we'll see all this manifested. It may not be in my lifetime, but I'm certainly seeing it happen. And many of you will see it happen, and you'll see it increasingly happening. And nobody can stop it. There already has been resistance, and that's just normal. It's a part of the process for some reason, and I can't explain why. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's the way it is. It's like a law of physics or nature or something that you can observe, and you can't understand why it needs to be that way, but there's something about it that needs to happen in this particular way. But we're headed for a full-on reversal from masculine to feminine ways of being in the world, ways of doing things, ways of believing, ways of acting, ways of solving problems. It's going to be completely new. We don't even have historical reference for this because it's so many thousands of years. We don't even have historical reference. Humanity as it is right now, and based on what we know, we've never seen it. They're like myths about it. There's some mythological reference to it, but it's so far back in our prehistory, that this was more the way it's going, into this more feminine way of being. We don't have any reference. We have no cultural, not even historical cultural references to it. So it's completely new. And again, just like we couldn't stop having such a masculine way of being in the world for so long, there were mitigating natural forces against it, just the way I talked about with the tree falling and the tides. They're mitigating factors, but we couldn't stop it. It seemed unstoppable. It seemed like, gosh, why is it like this for so long? Why can't we get more balance here? And it's because of the forces of it. And likewise, people who are resisting the feminine swing reversal, they won't be able to stop it. They won't for thousands of years or more. We don't really know. This is where we're kind of flummoxed as human beings because our point of reference and our point of view is so small ultimately. And so we can't comprehend even, but it's a swing toward the feminine, whatever that means, and we'll find out what it means. And it's unstoppable. So people who feel like things will never change, why is it one step forward, two steps back? Have heart. No one person, no one political party, no one group of people, no one country, no one group of countries. If the whole planet joined forces to fight it, they wouldn't be able to. So it's the powers that swing these forces are just bigger than us, and we don't have any control over it. We can just I think probably learn ways not to resist it and to have faith if you feel like it's impossible or something. But we're living in very interesting times. And I don't think anybody would argue that we're living in very, very interesting times. And people are waking up all over the place because of the shift. It's a fundamental cellular particle-based shift. It's something that individuals, no matter where they have been in their thoughts and beliefs, you'll see all around you people who are staunchly one way shifting, who you never thought would shift. I've seen it myself in people in their political persuasion and the way their belief system. I've seen people shifting on a deep level out of seemingly out of nowhere, but of course it wasn't out of nowhere. So we're kind of like tiny organisms in the oceans that get washed with the tides. We don't have any control ultimately. We don't. And the feminine part of our existence is rising and taking over for a while. And again, this is a very long pattern of events and happens slowly, but it's kind of there's this saying about ivy in the South where I live, that first it sleeps, then it creeps, then it leaps. And so that's how it's feeling. It's going to be feeling like the feminine side of existence. Suddenly it's going to feel like it's leaping, and I don't know when it's going to feel like a leap. Maybe it's happening now. I think people are more aware as everybody kind of wakes up and their awareness changes. People will see it and feel it, maybe more like it's creeping or leaping. I don't know when the big leap is going to occur, but I think the sensation for humans will be like that. Like it'll be like, whoa, what's happening? And then there are those who've been watching this for a long time and have, kind of sage people who've been watching this for a long time, far wiser than me, far more sage than I am. But I certainly see it and feel it, and I think everybody does. And then some people aren't so happy about it. They're scared of it. They don't know what it means. And nobody knows what it means. And so nobody's alone in that. We're all together in that. And the more we understand we're all together in this, I think the better it will go. But of course, people resist that oneness. People resist unity, and that's a part of it too. So that's my take on the election. I know it's maybe not what everyone wants to hear, but that is exactly what's going on an astrological level. And that's what we need to focus on, I think. That's what I want to focus on. All right, take care.